The south coast of England, for thousands of years, has been seen as being vulnerable from attack or invasion, only separated from mainland Europe by the English Channel. In Portland in Dorset, the harbour needed protecting, and for more than 500 years, defences have been established to do this job. Months ago we visited Portland Castle, and this was a fortification built by Henry VIII for this exact purpose. In the Victorian times, the threat from invasion would come from the French Navy, which was becoming extremely powerful. The Verne High Angle Battery, also known as the Verne Quarry Battery, is a former gun battery which originated from around the late 19th century. The Verne Citadel was built as Portland Harbour's main defensive fortification. The Citadel was designed with open gun emplacements on the north, east and western sides. Whilst walking around Portland, I accidentally stumbled across one of these gun emplacements, and specifically the Verne High Angle Battery. The concept of a high angle battery originated in the 1880s as a solution to the development of stronger armour that battleships were being fitted with. Join us as we explore this specific defensive fortification. Remember to support the channel, please subscribe. Rather than trying to penetrate the thick armour sides, high angle batteries were created that would allow shells to be dropped down onto the more vulnerable and less protected parts of the upper deck of enemy ships. With this, much more damage could be inflicted upon enemy boats. The 9-inch 12-ton rifle muzzled loading guns, although considered obsolete at this time, were selected as the guns to be adapted to fire at this high angle. After a number of trials in 1884, the results were rather positive, and a small amount of high angle batteries were developed at important strategic locations such as Portland, Plymouth and the Isle of Wight. The chosen site for the battery at Portland was around 150 metres south of the Verne Citadel, in a disused section of a quarry. The construction of this battery began in August 1890 and was complete 5 years later in September 1895, costing just over £4,000. Some money was saved during this building work due to the fact that the local builders used convict labour. The Royal Engineers were also used in the battery's planning and creation. Originally the battery had 6 emplacements, where the rifle muzzle loaded guns would be mounted at 70 degrees. This battery had 2 magazines, one at each end, which were protected with earth and grass from enemy fire. A tunnel system featuring a short tramway to transport ammunition from the magazines to the guns was also created. In the centre of the battery is a bomb-proof shelter for soldiers to take cover and also rest in, along with 2 more store buildings on the western side. The soldiers who would operate the battery were accommodated within the Verne Citadel, which today is a prison. As the battery was created on the site of a former quarry, it was designed to be hidden from view of the enemy's ships that were passing by the south coast. The guns could then move at a complete 360 degrees and were able to hit a moving target at an incredible maximum distance of around 5.6 miles. To help direct the guns, position finding cells were built so that the range and the bearings could be plotted to find the enemy's ships. During 1898 and 1899, the battery was remodelled at a cost of £5,500 and 2 additional pits were added on the flanks, but no guns were ever installed there. These were soon used to house toilets for the troops and officers. With the development of technology and the rising use of smaller craft, such as torpedo boats, the guns at the high angle battery were far less likely to hit an enemy vessel. This led to the deterioration of their importance. The guns at the Verne High Angle Battery remained in use until 1906. During that year, an inspection was carried out at the battery and it was stated that it would be a pity to remove the guns. However, the guns were later removed and the battery was decommissioned, with the guns being removed in 1910 being sold to a contractor. The Verne Citadel's military use ended in 1948 and this whole area began to be transformed into Her Majesty's Prison, the Verne. In the 1960s, one of the gunnery emplacements here was used for the testing of the capsules in which nuclear material would be transported within. Today, the battery is disused and has become a tourist attraction, and today remains the best preserved high-angle battery in the whole of the United Kingdom. A major restoration and conservation programme was carried out in the 1980s and 90s as the battery had suffered from vandalism. Today the magazines have gained the name the Ghost Tunnels as locals have recorded a high amount of paranormal activity there. We're now going to show you around the specific parts of the battery. The magazines are where the ammunition and shells for the guns would have been kept and made. Magazines were extremely dangerous places to work, as soldiers would be mixing up the different chemicals needed to create the ammunition. You will see that the magazines are both underground, and the soil on top of the magazines would make them bomb-proof. This means, should artillery hit the battery or even land close to the magazine, it will not lead to a disaster and the magazine blowing up. Inside the magazines at the Verne High Angle Battery, you will see almost like a railway that runs throughout the battery. This was used to transport ammunition quickly throughout and to different parts of the battery, including the guns. The bomb-proof shelter and laboratory sit inside the middle of the battery. This is where many of the soldiers who were based here would sleep. This shelter is protected from artillery should it be fired from the English Channel. This is also another place where the artillery could be stored. Today, this shelter is rather eerie and dark. The gun emplacements are colossal structures. The way these would have worked is that the gun would have been traversed to shoot high up into the sky. Shooting ammunition at a high angle was intended to have a more destructive effect on enemy ships throughout the 1800s. The shells, when fired, would hopefully land on the top deck of the enemy ship, wreaking havoc by going straight through the ship's deck and then detonating. As time moved on, this technology became outdated by the start of the 1900s. There are 6 emplacements throughout the battery, and the soldiers based here would have had to be on guard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in case an attack was on the horizon. The High Angle Battery had an extremely important role in defending Britain during the Victorian era. The threat from the French, following Napoleon's conflict at the beginning of the 19th century, had led to many people in Britain fearing a rejuvenation of the wars with France. Although today outdated, the battery teaches us an important lesson on how military technology quickly shifted, and how developing new methods of warfare can force a fortification to either adapt or become obsolete. Sadly, Portland's High Angle Battery has become obsolete, and today has fallen into disrepute at the hands of vandals. In my opinion, this place could be turned into a rather busy tourist attraction, much like other Victorian era defences, like the Western Heights at Dover, if a company was willing to invest in there. For these sites have an extremely interesting history, which needs protecting and ensuring that generations beyond our own can experience and learn about their fascinating past. Once again, thank you for watching. To support the channel, please subscribe. Thank you once again for watching.